Distiller's Cachet, whatever it might be. It's 12-year-old whiskey here in the Mr. Lester's Top Secret Podcast Lair. I'm your host, Kevon Bordelon. This is Implicit Bias. And man, do we have a great crew for you here in the TSPL. And we got great stuff coming for the week of Thanksgiving because there's going to be some changes. We'll see who notices. Let's start at the bar. Danny Izzo is joining us this week. Danny, it's a pleasure to have you back. What do you think of the digs? I think this is your first show, actually, with the new digs, not necessarily in this location, though, correct?
Correct.
Oh, we got to get your microphone up there. Say that again.
Correct.
There we go. Okay. So what do you think?
Well, yeah, I've been in this location before, but nothing quite like this. This is pretty cool.
Pretty cool.
To say the very least.
I like it. I love the way you called out the lighting when you walked in because you recognize those things, doing what you do as a photographer, professional photographer.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, we're not going to say what you take pictures of, but that's a whole other thing. Because we know that you've taken pictures of the man sitting next to you, which is Chris Castro. Yes.
Good evening. Good to be back in the Top Secret Podcast Lair.
It is a pleasure to have you back, Counselor Chris Castro of Chris Castro Law Firm. It's great to have you here. Our legal counsel. And we're actually going to dive into that because there's actually some legalities that we're going to talk about on this week's episode. It's a great conversation that we should all be aware of because we may not just realize how badly some attorneys are getting together to make sure that what you own, you really don't own. What we do own here on the show is a bottle of whiskey. And the first person who's going to talk about it is not the Rustic Renegade, who you probably see. We're actually going to introduce you to a new voice that you can't see here, Caleb. Are you going to talk for our new...
I'm not gonna talk for him, but I will act out his emotional status.
Oh, so like we're gonna get full-on interpretive hand motions in the chair.
Let me get in the zone.
I was really looking forward to this.
Watch.
Okay, so you heard the dulcet tones. Okay, and that was almost like Barry White. Barry White out of nowhere. Tug has got that going on. He is Aaron David. He normally handles video. Better Off Dead is still with us. Better Off Dead just couldn't be here this week. We have to have backups. It happens. Schedules conflict.
Well, he's still recovering from Mr. Lester's, right?
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably. Actually, I think his bank account is still recovering
I think
because
Kennedy has it to where like he's on a strict like you can drive to and from work.
Yes, correct. I think she needs to. So Walker, when you hear that, know that's just for you. But the voice that you heard is Aaron David, also known as Tug. Aaron, it's a pleasure to have you on the audio this week.
Pleasure to be here, man.
And you're not partaking of the weekly whiskey, I see, because I know that you're just not that big into whiskey.
Correct. But I will let everybody know, in the spirit of Walker, I'm going to be watching some football tonight.
Oh, you're going to be why? Because you got somebody in fantasy football, or did you bet on the game like Walker?
Oh, no. I'm not a sports bettor.
Okay, neither am I. I choose different ways to spend my money on entertainment. That is spending money on entertainment, and I'm not on board with betting like that. So if you are, great. But if you're not, I appreciate it. I was going to hope that you would actually sample the weekly whiskey with us because it's an extra voice. It creates that odd number that is a tiebreaker. Yeah. Should we have a tie?
We need someone to tilt the scales.
We do, which means that Rich, who doesn't have a microphone, who's in the background, who's handling video tonight, a.k.a. Matthew Johnson, guess what? He might be our deciding factor. We're going to let him submit a vote. We might actually take your mic away and just give it to him. Anyway, let's get to the weekly whiskey because I know Rich will talk. I know Rich will talk. Rich will get on camera. Rich will be all right. We know this.
Mr. Personality, bro.
Yeah, he is.
Absolutely.
He absolutely is. All right, let's start with the weekly whiskey. We are still with Distiller's Cachet. We're not exactly sure how they brand themselves, but if you're walking through a store and you see it, this is their 12-year-old juice. It comes in at what, 94 proof, Caleb?
94 proof in a beautiful label. Like the other one looked really good. I prefer, the other one was green and gold. I like this dim yellow, like the aged with that reddish, rusty gold color. Their labeling looks phenomenal.
It almost looks like it's got a little bit of a patina on it. It's or almost that it's vintage on the label. I do like the look. Vintage. I do like the look on the label. The liquid that's presented, and I'm just going to start in, it's a little light for me on the color. I would like a little more depth to it, a little more caramel to it. But let's go ahead. Why don't we start at the bar and see what the bar thinks of this Distiller's Cash at 94 proof? Who wants to start us off sitting at the bar?
I'll go ahead and take it. I'm enjoying this Distiller's Cash.
I'll take it.
I have to say. I have my taster, and the taster is just about done.
So your initial tasting is pretty much through the glass.
My initial taste is through the glass, and as you said, it's a little light, but very smooth. I find really just quite enjoyable, and I have to say, since coming in with the Implicit Bias crew, that I've really developed a taste for bourbon. Although I don't have a whole lot of variety in my palate, let's say, but I have come to enjoy the taste of bourbon, and this is really some very nice, easygoing, not too heavy, given that the coloration being light, nice on the glass itself. It's got a little some legs to it, so to speak, and I don't find it overly spicy. I find it just goes down quite enjoyably.
All right, Danny, what do you think of this one? I know your favorite is what? The Russell's Reserve, if I remember correctly?
Oh, Russell's Reserve or Wild Turkey.
Yeah, the Wild
rare-
Turkey, you
rare
like the
breed.
rye. Yeah, that rare breed as well.
And I am a rye guy. That being said, I really like this. First thing I did notice was it had some really nice legs, which is kind of my favorite part of the anatomy. But
That was good. That was good.
Yeah, I like that.
One of the things that I like about rye over bourbon most of the time is that there's not as much corn, and there's not that much corn in this either. And I really like that, and it's nice and smooth. And, I'm also not a real high proof fan.
Yeah, you're not a proof hound like Caleb
No,
and I. We
no.
love that
No.
115, 128, 130, 140. This obviously nowhere near that at 94.
No, but beautiful. I mean, it's right up my alley. I
Okay.
mean, legs and, not real high and not much corn. This is, I can't ask for much more.
Okay.
She's a little blonde too.
True, it is a little toward the blonde
Yeah,
side.
it is.
But, I mean, I can't really say that too much because my wife is a black-haired Cajun queen.
But yeah, no, it is lighter on the color, which does lead you to believe that when it hits the palate, it's going to have some of those lighter flavors. I think it pulls through on that, but I don't think you lose anything as Caleb uncorks the bottle to pour himself. My guess is this is his third or fourth pour.
No, I'm taking my time. My first one was
don't
kind of
lie.
heavy, so this realistically probably is my favorite.
You know how I know you're lying, Caleb? Because your lips are moving.
I know you lie. I know that song.
I'm also kind of waiting to see when that bottle makes its way over toward
look,
the
it's-
bar.
it's- up
Oh,
to
it'll
Kavan
come
to
back.
pass it.
It'll come back. We're gonna let Caleb start
Okay.
talking about what he thinks, and maybe at that time I'll have the opportunity to pass it back over to you. Go ahead, Caleb. So what are your thoughts?
I'll jump in. So on this one, on the nose, I got like a citrus lemon blend, which is weird. Like
Well, hold on. So you got a citrus lemon blend. So,
lemon is a citrus. I
Oh,
know that.
okay, okay.
But when I
You
say,
knew where I was going with
when I
this.
say citrus, I'm talking about like satsuma.
Okay.
So it's got like the tartness of a lemon with the sweetness of a satsuma, if that makes sense.
yes.
But it's on the nose. And then I get honey, tons of honey on the nose. It's just very prominent. And then I went in for my first sip, and it was very sweet. It was sweeter than I expected, even with all that beforehand. Then I got immediate honey. And then my favorite little restaurant in Vegas is called Cafe Mon Ami Gabby. And they do a really good breakfast and everything else. One of the things they have is they have this French toast. And on top of the French toast, they put a homemade chantilly cream. So a chantilly cream is going to be vanilla, whipped cream, a little bit of powdered sugar, that kind of stuff. So to me, I get the flavor of fresh, homemade, like just French toast with just a hint of maple syrup on top and chantilly cream. That's the flavor I get on this. So to me, it's a dessert. Thank I've eaten today, so I'm having my dessert now. But it's very, very refreshing, very light, very flavorful. For what it is, I didn't expect the robustness of flavor. Now, the sweetness is, to me, a little bit too much as I pour again,
Yeah.
But I don't think I could drink this all night, is what I mean by that. I like that spice, that other stuff. This one, after this, we'll call it third glass, probably my last glass of it, but it is delicious.
I am with you on this is either a beginning of the night or end of the night pour. This is either where you start your evening or where you finish it because it does have that light citrus. It's almost palate cleansing when you sip it, and it does. It's got legs. It's got a long finish to it. At 94 proof, you would think it's probably not going to have as long of a finish. It's not going to have as robust of a flavor as it does. Now, the flavors are not deep.
No,
They are
they're-
light and refreshing.
Yeah, they're light and like, and something that I was covered up by my phone right here is another note, and it was I like mead, right? I used to
Yeah.
have made my own mead and everything else, and to me, this is almost like a very high proof mead. I've made some meads that were like 13 to 14%, and like they were good, and it would get you right. This at 94 proof is if you enjoy mead, try this one because that honey wash, that deep honey flavor, that chantilly cream, that French vanilla that's there, it's just very nice, very airy, very refreshing.
I will take it a step further. I don't think you have to like mead to like this. If you are a beer drinker and you want to get into whiskey, this is going to be a great bridge because it does have almost that yeasty flavor to it that you get with beer. Almost, and it's not hoppy at all. But it's flat, but it does have that like I said, that robust flavor that really sits with you. I get the light summer honey or spring honey heavily in this glass. At 94 proof, 12 years old, and what everybody thinks about when they think of a 12-year bourbon or whiskey, everybody thinks Weller 12. Weller 12 is going to be the opposite end of the spectrum. It's going to be darker. It's going to be a lot more caramel. It's going to be a lot more brown sugar. This is just that light, open-ended, almost aperitif type drink, or that, hey, I'm going to finish the night up. I've had plenty of higher proof, deeper flavors, and I want something that's just going to refresh me before I decide to go hit the pillow and wake up the next day and go, what happened? Right?
This would probably be delicious with like a fresh cobbler.
Yes.
Like that, it would pair really well if you do like cherry or something like that, because the tartness would offset the sweetness. It's surprising the flavor that you get out of this.
I could see this with a straight up peach cobbler because it would pull through. It's almost like a stone fruit flavor as well. As you say that you get that white fruit flavor. So it's not necessarily apple, but it might be pear. It might be a little bit, if you use peach, I mean, that's not necessarily a white fruit, but you start to get those types of flavors with this, and I could see them pairing really, really well.
You see what you're missing out on, Tug? You see this? All the fun you could be having?
Not for me, man.
Okay, so okay, that's a great question. Why is it not for you, Tug? Why?
I'm just not much of a drinker, brother.
Is it you don't like the flavor of whiskey? Is it you don't drink whiskey when you do drink? What is it?
I'm a tequila drinker.
Okay.
Okay. I'm gonna tell you something. You would love this. Now that you say that, when you say tequila, this almost drinks like a reposado tequila.
Yes.
Just it's a little sweeter on the bourbon side. It doesn't have that tartness of the agave that goes with it. I'm telling you, if you are a tequila drinker, and I'm so glad we brought that up because I'm telling you, this almost drinks like a tequila whiskey or a whiskey in a tequila barrel. It's really
Or
unique.
even like a good like they have some of the sweeter tequila mixed drinks.
Yeah.
Like they do a tamarindo margarita, and that's done with like the tamarind fruit. It's gonna be kind of like pulpy. This would be similar to that.
I might have to give it a try.
Oh, we're gonna get him interested. You know what happens when we get him interested? We get him hooked.
Oh, I was gonna say his pants come off.
There are images I didn't need tonight, Caleb. That was, and Tug, it's no offense to you, just not interested, right?
brother,
Not an, what's that?
Taking that off.
None taken. I appreciate that. Okay, so now it's time for us to play What Would You Pay and where we rate this on the Morse Whiskey Rating Code. So for those who aren't familiar with the Morse Whiskey Rating Code, red, I wouldn't drink it even if it was free. Yellow, I would only drink it if it was free. Green, I would buy this. Blue, I would seek this out. And here's how this works on Implicit Bias. We're going to go around the Mr. Lester's top secret podcast lair, and we're going to rate this on the Morse Whiskey rating code. That's going to give us a consensus vote that will go in the Implicit Bias Whiskey Tasting Journal, which, by the way, if you're looking for one, just go to Amazon. They're there. They're not expensive. It'll be at your door in just a couple of days. Fantastic.
Great stocking stuffer.
Yeah. And actually, if you're in the Lafayette, Louisiana area, which is where the Mr. Lester's Top Secret Podcast Lair is located, somewhere in downtown Lafayette, you can go to the Rustic Renegade. I believe you still have some, Caleb, or you
I
no
need more.
Oh, you don't have any more. Okay.
We'll make it happen.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
We know the guy.
Yeah, I think we know somebody. But you can get it. Great stocking stuffer for the whiskey drinker in your life. That's where we start. Then we play What Would You Pay? For the drop box, what would you pay? Not drop box, box drop. I always get it confused. Box drop. What would you pay? Championship belt chain. So we're going to roll around the TSPL very quickly. At the bar, Danny, we're going to start with you. What would you pay, and where do you rate this on the Morse Whiskey rating code?
65 and blue.
65 and a blue. Wow.
Out the gate.
All right, Mr. Castro.
$47.99 and a green.
A green. All right, Caleb, where are you?
I am a solid green on this one. I want to give it more mark, but to me, it's a green. Man, what gets me is I know where the last one was.
Well, and not just that, it's 12 years. And
I know,
the
and when you
rule
look
typically
at 12, we have the rule that it's $10 per year.
$10 a year.
So, like, I want to say $120. I do, but I don't think that they price it there. I think they're aggressive. I'm gonna go $85.
$85 for the Renegade. This is going to be a consensus green all the way around. It's not quite a blue for me, so we don't have to go to Tug or Rich to get it. But the What Would You Pay Championship Belt Train, presented by Box Drop, goes to Caleb Morse. This is $84.99.
Oh, snap.
You were a penny off.
Oh, snap.
Yes, this is an $84 bottle of whiskey. Ring the bell. We'll get in the chain and come back with more of your Implicit Bias.